Today on Go Island, we are looking back through musical history with Gordon Theedom. This song, Stardust, is his favorite, and he's got more than 5,000 LPs, 78s, and 45s to choose from. Today on Go Island, on the set of Godzilla in Nanaimo, a second home for CHLY Radio, and easing the burden for Port Alberni students. That and more today on Go. You are watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4, and Gordon has corrected me. It's not 5,000 albums that he has, it's more like 10,000, but I hear he sent couple truckloads away, maybe 15,000, so I don't know how many he's got, but we're going to have a close look at his collection later on this edition of Go Island. We're going to look at his prized possession, and we're going to talk about a radio show that he does on CHLY. In the meantime, we're throwing things over to Jocelyn Matwee. She's on the set of Godzilla, finding out about what it's like behind the scenes of that production, and more importantly, the health of the film industry in British Columbia. You are watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. I'm Kate Bergen. This is Gordon Theedom. I don't know why I feel the need to say, but he's 86 years old, full of energy, full of fun, great sense of humor. He says his memory is going, but he's just fine.
I didn't know how far you're going to call that full. How far you're going to go with it.
Well, let's get to the records. Mm-hmm. Now, off the top, I said you had about 5,000. And then you said, oh no, it's probably more like 10,000. Do you even know how many you have?
No, I don't really, but I would say more like 15 to 20,000 in the condo here. But I've had an awful lot more go through my hands, you know. So, well, we'll just settle on, say, 20,000 here.
And what is it? 20,000.
Yeah.
And now that includes LPs, 78s, and 45s.
That's right, yes.
Why do you collect these records?
You know, I've asked myself that same question quite often. I say, well, why am I collecting these? Well, it's for my own pleasure. I've been doing it since 1942, when my brother joined the Air Force, turned over his collection to me, and I was 7 records, by the way, and I took it from there.
And back then, they were hard to find. They were expensive and not easy to get your hands on.
They weren't, because the material was being used in the war. I don't know what they used it for, but anyway, it was used, and well, no records were produced, because unless they were old records that they'd melted down and used over again. And that did happen.
And how about today? Are you able to find the records that you want? I'm assuming there's more that you want, even though you have about 20,000.
Well, as a matter of fact, what's happening with today, it's I just collect for the sake of wanting to collect. And something I haven't got, say I've got an LP, I don't have that one selection, I buy the LP anyway. But I'm pretty well, imagine I'm 86 and I know what records I've got and what I haven't got. That is in selections, not counting the numbers that I have.
And where do you get them? I mean, there's Fascinating Rhythm downtown.
Yes.
There's antique stores and secondhand stores. Are there any other
places
for you to go?
Salvation Army, as a matter of fact. And,
okay.
Salvation Army. Matter of fact, I've volunteered there for 14 years. So I've got a few from them too, you know. Surprised how many people have thrown away their valuables, and then I grab them, you know.
And it's all one genre, sort of the big band era of...
Yeah, big band mainly. Big band and the singers of the big band era. And, I like some of the modern stuff too, but...
I was going to ask you that. Like what? What's modern to you?
What's modern? Well, modern to me is maybe Lee Castle playing the trumpet with Tommy Dorsey, or with Benny Goodman, as he started out with him. But, you know, it still centers around big band, or the singers of the big band. Right. For example, my microphone over here, Louis Armstrong used it when he was here in 1942 with his orchestra, and I'm quite proud of having that same drool on my microphone.
And that, when you say here, you mean here in Nanaimo?
Here in Nanaimo, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
We're going to talk a little bit later about some of Gordon's other prized possessions. We'll get a close look at that microphone that Louis Armstrong drooled over. And we'll talk about a radio show that Gordon has on CHLY. And speaking of CHLY, we're going to throw things over now to a story I had the pleasure of doing a couple weeks back about their new global headquarters at the Globe Hotel. You are watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. I'm Kate Bergen, and that's Gordon Theedom. He's looking for a photograph that's autographed by Louis Armstrong from when he performed and played here in Nanaimo. The microphone that we're going to show you, well, we'll show you now. It's right over there. Gordon's pretty proud because Louis Armstrong actually drooled on that microphone too, and now Gordon is using it to pre-record his radio show that airs on CHLY radio every Monday from 11 till noon. It's called Music from the Past, and Gordon records that right here in his bedroom that's been converted into the home for his extensive record collection and his home base studio. We'll talk more with Gordon later on this edition of Go Island. In the meantime, we're going to throw things over now to Dan Marshall for another episode of Rapid Fire with the Nanaimo Clippers captain. The Nanaimo Clippers have unfortunately been eliminated from the BCHL playoffs, but their season is not over. They are hosting the Western Canada Cup right here in Nanaimo, April 26th until May the 5th. You are watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. We're hanging out in the home studio amidst the thousands and thousands of records with Nanaimo collector, radio buff, and we're going to try to get into a little bit of your history. This is Gordon, and we talked about the drool on Louis Armstrong's microphone.
Yeah, that's right.
Your prized possession.
I wiped it up finally.
Oh, good. Maybe that makes it less valuable, right?
Well, it was starting to rust a little bit, just like I am.
You were digging through your files. We almost had a panic because we thought you lost them, but here are some photographs of Louis Armstrong when he was in Nanaimo, and you saw that concert.
Well, yes, we went down with three friends of mine, and we didn't have the money to go in and watch Louis Armstrong back in 1942. So,
oh, do you remember how much it was? How much it cost?
It was $4.50 or something like that. I mean, that's a steal now, but
right.
My friends, the other three friends and I, we poked our nose against the window, and we saw Louis with his trumpet and his handkerchief, just being ready for the next chorus. And oh, he was wonderful.
And how old were you at the time then?
Let's see, I think I was about 16.
Okay, out there
Never
causing
been kissed.
trouble. Never been kissed. Now, let's give people a little bit. You worked at in radio.
Yes, in 1949.
And what was your role in radio? And I'm just going to hold up this photo. This was the closing of CHUB 1570. And what was your job at radio in Nanaimo?
Well, I don't want to brag, but I was the chief announcer. I had four announcers. The reason you have a chief announcer, you designate what program they're going to do. They say each of the guys and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. It didn't take much organizing, but an extra $10 on my check is helpful.
Okay, I bet. It's helpful today too, even $10, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So you worked in radio, so you had access to a lot of the music, and you were also a musician yourself.
Yes.
What did you do? You play?
Played the alto sax for 50 years.
These photographs here, this was actually taken, we've been to the Globe Hotel on this show with CHLY Radio, and who's this guy? And he's coming out of the Globe Hotel in Nanaimo.
Yes, that's Tommy Dorsey.
Okay.
But he wasn't in the Globe Hotel, he was in the Malaspina Hotel.
Okay, which is now gone.
It's gone, yeah. The last time I looked, it wasn't there. But no, in one of the pictures, you actually can see the Globe Hotel.
Okay, so
that was taken in May the 20th, 1954.
And you took this with your own film?
My movie camera.
That did not have sound?
No, it didn't have sound. But, well, I didn't know, not back in 1954. But no, Tommy was good. What we were planning on doing is maybe doing a book with all these autographs and everything that I've got, which is, I've got lots of them. Henry Mancini and Harry James, Bob Crosby. I mean, there's so many I can't even think of them all. But and then I met up with Phil Harris.
You're looking at me, and you know that I don't know who these people are.
Phil Harris was the band leader on the show Jack Benny.
Okay.
And he was married to Alice Faye. And
still drawing a blank.
Oh yeah, it will, because we're talking 1948 at this time.
Wow.
I went up to Qualicum to interview him, and that was a real wonderful time.
And you've been in Nanaimo all your life?
Pretty well, all except 10 years.
All except 10 years.
I came here in 1937.
Wow.
Yeah.
We are just scratching the surface here at the musical life, the musical history that Gordon is keeping safe here at his home in Nanaimo. We'll touch base one more time before we wrap up this edition of Go Island. We're heading up to Port Alberni now. Post-secondary education can be extremely expensive, and students are often left with huge debt and very little skills in the way of getting an actual job to pay back those debts. Well, there's an organization in Port Alberni that is doing something about that. You are watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. We're enjoying a conversation and a look back in musical history with Nanaimo's very own Gordon Theedom. He has a radio show on CHLY every Monday from 11 until noon. It's called Music from the Past. What are we listening to now, Gordon?
We're listening to Picnic.
Picnic.
Morris Stoloff.
Someone else I've never heard of. We're going to throw things over now to Jen Morenitz for another road trip. It's over to an edible spa on Galliano Island. You know, the music that we're listening to here from a long gone era, the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, is just relaxing, if not more, than that kind of nature music that they play at spas these days. Maybe I'll put in a request the next time I'm at a spa. It's been great hanging out here with Gordon Theedom in his record collection, literally in his record collection here in Nanaimo. And once again, I've gone over time. So that's it for this edition of Go Island. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.